when you get pregnant or when you're intending to get pregnant, there's a way you need to prepare. Most of the ladies prepare for pregnancy after it is there. And most of you don't even realize you're pregnant until you walk into a hospital. You're going just to do a normal check and they tell you, hey, these are symptoms of a pregnancy. So simply take a test. And you realize, oh my goodness, the gentleman just did his thing. And now you were not prepared for it. You don't know how to start this journey. You don't know how to carry along this journey. But it is here, so you can't do nothing about it. So what happens during this process? Allow me to tell you this. When you get to puberty, you should start preparing for a pregnancy. Ladies, when you get to puberty, you should start preparing for pregnancy. The moment you see that first menstrual cycle, you should start preparing for pregnancy. The problem is, most of our mothers taught ladies to basically survive on career. But the real case here is when they get the first menstrual cycle, the reality is there. They can easily get pregnant. So I think mothers are supposed to teach this the daughters how to behave around men, how to start the process of preparing for pregnancy, so that when they get there, it becomes a smooth ride. But look at women nowadays. They have gotten pregnant. Everything is coming. They're now vomiting. They're getting the tiredness. They don't even understand it. By the time they're coming to hospital for a diagnosis, is it a diagnosis really? For a test, let me just use that because pregnancy is not a disease. By the time they're coming to hospital for that test, they're already possibly in their second or third month. They don't even remember the last time they had their last period. And you see, we need that last period for us to calculate the EDD, expected delivery date, right? So you need it. You need that last menstrual cycle or menstrual period. But this is the point. When you come to hospital and then you're tested and you're told you're positive for the pregnancy, that's a tricky one because honestly, we were supposed to start preparing for this earlier. Why? Because you see, a pregnancy is a new situation in your body. It's actually a new condition. It's not a disease as such because I don't believe that a pregnant woman is a weak woman. I don't believe they have a disease. I believe they are one of the strongest generations or people to ever live. Because imagine raising a human being, like carrying a human being for 9 months. It's a very special occasion, and pregnancy has to be treated with the utmost respect that it deserves. But that is not supposed to make people weak. A pregnant woman is supposed to do most activities that other women do, only on a limited level. But nowadays, when you just get pregnant, it's a ticket for you to relax, to sit back and do nothing. That's where the challenge comes in. That's how you start adding that weight. That's how you start getting these problems. I put up a video today that I was telling people, and it actually got a lot of controversy. I told people there is no pregnancy that comes with cravings, that comes with diabetes. None. That pregnancy exposes the behavior that has been there. If you've been eating rice, if you've been eating ugali, you've been using sugar, you've been eating that sugar cane, you will always crave that sugar cane even without the pregnancy. But the pregnancy just exposes that. It actually makes it worse because now you have something you can actually defend yourself with. You can actually say, I'm eating this because I'm pregnant. So most of you use pregnancy to just defend bad addictions and bad behavior and the indiscipline that comes with the diets. So when I say that, ladies came guns blazing, and I'm like, okay, they're actually asking me, you've never gotten pregnant. I'm like, I don't have to get pregnant to remind you the position of the pregnancy. Like, your great grandmother did not get these cravings, the crazy cravings that you guys get. There were no ice cream that time. So where did they get this? Possibly they craved for something else, maybe sweet potatoes or stuff. I don't know. But the reality is, what I understand is there is no pregnancy that comes with insulin resistance. Insulin resistance was just there. The pre-diabetes was there, but the pregnancy just exposed it. At least for hypertension, we can bargain on that because maybe as the uterus expands, it starts to exert pressure on the blood vessels, and therefore you can end up gorging blood in your extremities and then an increase in blood pressure. That one can be debatable. But diabetes, you want to tell me that fetus is actually carrying sugar? That is not true. So in the first trimester, I think the best trimester is the second trimester, where ladies don't have a lot of issues. But in the first trimester, what happens is Number one, and very importantly, you have something called the neural tube. You see, your brain and the spinal cord come from something that is called the neural tube. Looks like this, just like a tube. So this tube, the internal part and the external part, and then we have the mid part. So the internal part is the one that will make the hollow tube that makes the GIT. The mid part is the one that will make the muscles, the bones, and all that. And then the external part will make, of course, the brain, spinal cord, and the skin tissue. So we have those layers, those three layers. But we cannot go into the anatomy of that. Let's just talk about this neural tube. This tube is the one that develops into the brain and the spinal cord. And guess what? This tube fuses. It gets a complete fusion at the end of the 4th week. That is 1 month from conception. 28 days after conception, this tube is already done. What does that tell you? You've heard of pregnant women, or actually medical practitioners, pharmacists, and those caregivers saying that we are giving pregnant women folic acid tablets to prevent them from neural tube defects. Hello? We are giving pregnant women folic acid tablets, underline the word tablets, to make sure that they don't get, their babies don't get neural tube defects, right? And there's this tablet that has a combination of both iron and folic acid. And the intention of that tablet is one, to possibly boost blood. And then number two, to prevent the neural tube defects in the baby. But these are ladies who are 6 months into, who are 6 weeks into pregnancy. They're possibly in their 2nd trimester. Some are in the 3rd trimester, and they're giving the folic acid and iron tablets. Now you tell me, which neural tube defect are you preventing? When already the neural tube has already fused, which one are you preventing? By giving them this. That is one. Number two, folic acid is not folate. Folate is the natural vitamin B9. Folic acid is the synthetic vitamin B9. It's a synthetic product. It's made in the laboratory. So you tell me if these two are the same. They are not. Number two, for you to convert the folic acid into the active form of folate, the methyl folate, you need an enzyme. And 65% of women, adult women, they lack that enzyme. Just the same way most adults lack the enzyme that breaks down milk, the lactase enzyme. Most adult ladies or women lack the enzyme that is supposed to convert folic acid, the synthetic one, into the active form of folate. So when you give me these tablets, what should I expect? And this is not to disrespect those who have used the hematinic agents or the tablets to just get their blood levels going back to normal. Realize this, you cannot put a finger on the folic acid and the iron supplements to be the ones that are supposed to actually boost your blood levels, because they tell you, start going, go and eat the beetroot, go and eat the liver, go and eat omena and the sardines, and then use these tablets. So chances are the diets are the ones that could be. Actually, the larger percentage is the diets that are bringing up your blood levels, not the tablets, because now these tablets cannot be converted actively to folate, which will be used to make your blood, will use to help you prevent all these conditions and make the DNA. That is folate. But for iron supplements, most ladies, when pregnant, you experience heartburn. So you end up taking antacids, you end up taking omeprazoles, you still eat bad diet, so therefore your gut pH is actually messed up. The neural tube fuses before, basically 28 days into conception. So these women are being given folic acid after the neural tube has fused. So what is the benefit? No benefit. And again, the folic acid is synthetic. It's not natural vitamin B9. It's not folate. So the body will struggle to assimilate synthetic products. That's a story for another day. So number one, in the 1st trimester, neural tube has fused. Actually, there's development and fusing of the neural tube. You develop the GIT, the major organs, the heart, the lungs, they're actually developing, and even the eyes and the ears. So at this moment in time, These are the organs that are developing in the first trimester. So you can imagine that's a very important trimester in pregnancy. Even though you'll get to experience all these issues of vomiting, fatigue, and all that, but this is a very important trimester in pregnancy. What does that tell you? Any food, any toxin, any chemical, any drug that you take during this first trimester of pregnancy can actually have a very serious impact in the growth and development of organs in your fetus, including sugar. So when you're going to give birth to a child who has Down syndrome, you now start realizing where the rain started beating you. The first trimester. What were you eating during the first trimester? This is when you develop the brain and the spinal cord, you develop the GIT. So you started messing the GIT of the child by that time, of the fetus. So this is the time they're developing their GIT, they're developing their lungs, their heart, their hearing and eyesight. They're developing that fusion of the brain and the spinal cord. So it's a very important stage. And also they are developing buds, like those buds that will actually grow into the limbs, the hands and the legs. There is a drug that was used back in the 1950s to treat epilepsy. That drug was called thalidomide. There was a rumor that that drug is coming back into the market. It was called thalidomide. Thalidomide is a drug that was actually highly teratogenic. So they used it, I think it was in the French nation. And then 10, 20 years down the line, the children that were born after that use of the thalidomide in epilepsy and also pregnant women who had preeclampsia and the seizures. So those children had defects called phocomelia. Their limbs looked like this way. So that drug was actually withdrawn. It was called off and withdrawn. But you see, the effects had already been done. Yeah, the same way right now, they are calling off COVID vaccines, but the thrombosis is still there. So people are still suffering from thrombosis. But now they're saying, okay, our product can be actually a serious problem in causing those blood clots and issues with blood clots. But now we have to recall it. We are taking it off the markets, but it's already used. So that's how thalidomide was withdrawn from the market. But how many people had it messed? How many children came out with this phocomelia, with these short limbs and all that? A lot of them. Okay. So the first trimester is very important in pregnancy. So avoid medication. If you're a pregnant woman in your first trimester, avoid medications by all means. Simply talk to your gynecologist or talk to your doctor about the benefits of this medication. If there are things that you can actually prevent them and start preventing this before you even get pregnant. For those who are not pregnant yet, start eating healthy, start fixing your diet and your kitchen before you even get the pregnancy. You will not need the supplements that they are talking about. So that's the first trimester. What are the things that you'll experience here? Of course, gorging of the breasts in preparation for breast milk production in future. There will be some tenderness here, some pain on the breast and soreness, frequent malaise and tiredness, the vomiting, which is the morning sickness. You know that, okay? Yeah, vomiting sickness, the morning sickness that basically most women suffer from. And when you get the morning sickness, that's when you start being diagnosed of a pregnancy. That could be the second month already. So you already, your child's or your fetus neurotube has already fused. By that time, even if you take the folic acid, it will be a problem. It will be useless. Also remember this, that before a drug acts, it has to reach a place or a certain level in plasma that is the optimum level to give you a benefit. So as you take that drug, folic acid tablets, they require about 6 to 8 weeks of you taking them consistently on a daily basis so that they attain the optimum level in blood, in the plasma. Listen to that statement carefully. You need to take folic acid for at least 6 to 8 weeks for you to get therapeutic levels in plasma. Now, this tells you for you to get therapeutic levels of folic acid in plasma during a pregnancy, you opt to have started using it 4 weeks before you conceived. Are we getting that? So if you used it, let's say you started using it from day one of pregnancy, the benefits of that folic acid will not be there. Why? Because number one, you need 6 weeks so that it attains a certain optimum level in plasma to give you the benefit, to protect your fetus. Number two, it is a synthetic product, so absorption issues and bioavailability issues are there. Number three, most adult ladies or women have a deficiency in an enzyme that is supposed to convert folic acid into methyl folate or the folate, the active folate. So when you have that deficiency of that enzyme, that tells you will be unable to break down this folic acid to metabolize it to get the active ingredient. So not only are you having inactive ingredients, you are not also getting the optimum level of folic acid that will take you through, that will push actually your agenda. So if you're intending to take folic acid to protect your child from neural tube defects, start 4 weeks before you conceive. Now, conception means before you get pregnant. Before that gentleman ejaculates, you should have been taking folic acid from back then. That's why diets are very important than you just taking tablets. That's very important. So in the second trimester, you start to experience all these issues, the heartburns, the regurgitation, of course, because your uterus is now expanding and pressing against the stomach. So stomach content can start coming back and burning you. So what do you need to do? You need to concentrate stomach acid so that you tighten this sphincter, the cardiac sphincter, so that nothing comes back. That means salt is very important. That means fasting is very important. That means eating all the time is non-important in a pregnant woman. But pregnant women eat all the time, and then they blame it on the pregnancy. Now you know. So at this moment in time, actually, when you get to the second trimester, it becomes smooth because progesterone levels are going up. And it becomes a good. This is the time where ladies will tell you, "Oh, I'm pregnant," because now they are sure, and they are certain they're not getting it out. I'm pregnant, I feel good. Now they want you to rub their tummy so that they feel comfortable and stuff. This is the time they feel happy with the pregnancy because, again, very minimal side effects. I put side effects in quotes. Then now this is a happy place for them. But they start adding weight. Now remember this, they're not adding weight necessarily because they have a pregnancy. They're adding weight because they're eating for the baby. They're eating for two. A pregnant woman now wants to eat because they want a healthy baby, because what health is actually skewed in their minds. So they start thinking, now I have to eat food for two. I have to be satisfied so that my baby gets food. Now, what a way to think about things, though. The same concept that happens when people take those drugs for deworming. So people, for the longest period of time, you've always thought that the worms in the stomach are actually waiting for you to take that drug and that they eat that drug. That's the mindset, right? So you have to take it early in the morning on an empty stomach. Why? Because the worms are hungry in the morning. So they are waiting for that tablet, that albendazole to get in the stomach, and they eat it and then they die. That's a very layman way of thinking of things. The reality is you take that tablet with food so that it is absorbed. When it's absorbed, worms don't feed on what is in the gut. They feed on what is in blood. They suck blood. So they'll suck the drug through the blood. This is the same concept that happens here. The baby is not eating the food that you're eating in the stomach. No, the baby is actually going to get nutrients from the blood supply, the placental blood supply. So when you're eating for two, your baby does not have a stomach like yours. That fetus does not even have a stomach like yours. They're not even ready for the digestion. They're just getting the nutrients and the oxygen through the placental supply. So stop eating for two. Pregnant women, stop eating for two. Yeah? Stop eating for two. But again, in the second trimester, this is the first time most women are diagnosed with that condition that is called preeclampsia. For those of you who don't know, preeclampsia is basically the condition in pregnancy where we have hypertension and we have seizures sometimes. Okay? So they get to faint and convulse. And it's a very dangerous condition in pregnancy. And now the third trimester, this one is basically now you're starting to load. Okay, so now I might become a mother. For the first timers, for the first, they call them primigravida, those ladies who get the pregnancy for the first time. You're still confused. You're still wondering, is it painful to give birth? Still wondering, is there something else I need to do? You start getting anxious and nervous. People told you it's painful to give birth, and now it's getting into your head. So now you start wondering, is it okay for me to give birth now? Am I ready? That anxiety can be a serious problem also in pregnancy. So, but in this third trimester, your fetal lungs have now started developing. Now they're actually maturing. And when you give birth, let's say premature births, at around maybe 24 to 35 weeks there. So before term, you're supposed to actually be given dexamethasone. And the reason why they give you that steroid injection is because this steroid injection, one, will prevent your child from getting a bleeding in the head, the hemorrhage. It will also help your fetus or your baby to just develop the lungs faster and maturely. So NSAIDs are very dangerous in the baby because you see, a baby's lungs, the patency of the lungs is actually maintained by things that are called prostaglandins. So when you take an NSAID is a painkiller that actually blocks the formation of these prostaglandins. And these prostaglandins are the ones that keep the patency of the airways of the babies open. So what happens is when you take an NSAID, it blocks the synthesis of these chemicals that actually make these lungs to open up. So when you take them, they block it. Now they shatter. They collapse. When they collapse, the baby can die because of respiratory depression. They cannot breathe. Okay. Yeah. So that is how it happens. So it's if you're pregnant, avoid drugs by all means. Avoid drugs. And they're classified in different stages. So you can actually talk to your doctor to make sure that you are safe. But at this moment in time, some women can get the blood vision because their blood levels are also going down. And of course, varicose veins are there, heartburns are there, the gastritis is there. So you're tempted to take omeprazole all the time. But most importantly, the back aches. Now, this back aches, the reason why possibly back aches and the weight that you're now exerting on the spinal cord as you're carrying that pregnancy, these are the reasons why you are actually told to take the calcium supplements. These are one of the supplements that we talk about when you're talking about the supplements in pregnancy. But I always tell you that calcium supplements are very useless because they are calcium carbonate. So that is chalk. You cannot feed a pregnant woman with chalk. It's a waste of time. So pregnant women should take bone broth. They should eat meats. They should eat eggs. For them, they should eat green leafy vegetables for them to get the calcium that will help them strengthen their bones. So it's very useless to just put a pregnant woman on calcium supplements all through. And that's the reason why this gentleman here was saying the pregnant care, they have the calcium, they have all the other minerals that are actually going to support the pregnancy. But the reason why you need supplements in any condition is because you're eating crappy diets. They don't have nutrients. When they don't have nutrients, of course, now you'll need the supplements, because the gentleman who actually came up with the supplement business was actually targeting that the food that you're eating right now don't have nutrients. So for you to recover, he has to bring supplements to just make sure that you continue eating the bad foods. But again, there's a solution in supplements. So don't rely on supplements all the time.